As part of your college essay strategy, you're going to need to convince the reader that you have particular character traits. Now, what most people try to do is they try to directly say it. You'll see that people talk about how they are very, very creative and keep saying that they're creative, or they'll say, especially on medical school applications or for combined medical program applications, everybody just drones on and on about how they want to help people and be helpful to people and all that. And you know what? At the end of all that, no one believes it. It rings false. It's not powerful. To convince somebody that you have a character trait, you have to be indirect. You don't actually talk about that character trait. Instead, you show it in how you interact with something else. I'm going to give a couple examples, and some are going to be unsettling. And I'm going to show you how, if you wanted to, you could probably make people start to think that you're some sort of a sociopathic serial killer. But first, I'm going to give this example. This is an image from the Scooby-Doo movie. This character over here is played by Freddie Prinze Jr. In the movie, near the beginning, a reporter asks to what he attributes their success, and he says, teamwork. I do a lot of teamwork. Now, when he says it, it's, the audience laughs because it's so narcissistic. It's so vain. I do a lot of teamwork. Even though he's talking about teamwork, right? Even though he's talking about teamwork, he's actually showing that he's selfish and self-centered and vain and narcissistic. And we believe it because we figured that out on our own. We believe that he is that way. Whereas, if he just sat down and said, by the way, I'm selfish and vain and narcissistic, we might believe him, we might not. But because we figured it out from evidence, our brain put that together, we trust it. One common question that you'll see in a lot of college essays, they're usually something like, what historical figure would you most want to meet? Or if you could ask any historical figure anything you wanted to, what would you ask them? And I'm going to show you how you can answer that question to show various different character traits, including some really creepy and unsettling ones. Now, let's go ahead and we'll pick Louis Pasteur, who is the creator of vaccines, the creator of the pasteurization method, all that kind of stuff. We're going to show that you're going to talk not about anything about yourself. You're only going to talk about questions that you would ask him, but the types of questions would show different character traits about you. Now, let's say that your goal was, for whatever reason, that you wanted to convince the reader, that you are basically some sort of a sociopathic serial killer, like Ted Bundy, pictured over here. What could you do? I'll show you. So you say if you could ask him anything, you would ask Louis Pasteur the following. You might say, okay, I'm going to ask him this. I want to know when. So you could ask when you were killing the mice in the laboratory, or breaking their spines, or cutting their throats. How did it feel? Did you feel exhilarated? Now, that's such a creepy and weird question. On the surface, you're just asking about a laboratory procedure, but the way it's asked makes you seem like, Ted Bundy, makes you seem like a serial killer, sociopathic weirdo. Now, let's say you didn't want to do that, and I assume that you probably wouldn't want to do that. Let's say instead of trying to do that, you wanted to convince the reader that you're very interested in innovation. You don't say, hey, I'm really interested in innovation, all that. No, you're going to say, here's what I would ask Dr. Pasteur. I'd ask, how did he come up with these ideas? How did he overcome these hurdles? What different ways did he put things together to figure these things out? So that's showing maybe an interest in innovation. If I wanted to show that I was interested in helping humanity, I might say I would want to ask him of his various inventions, which one does he think had the most positive impact or helped the most people over time? Those two things are different. The first one talks about innovation. The second thing talks about interest in helping people. Now notice that in none of these things are you talking about yourself. You don't say, here's what I'm about. You're saying, here's what I would ask this other person. The topic is what you would ask this other person, but the questions you ask reveal more about yourself. And you can do this through questions. You can do this with descriptions. Let's say you wanted to reveal that you were very creative. If you just start talking about art, painting, and all that, no one was going to believe you. But you could talk about maybe something like lifting weights. Lifting weights is not usually seen as creative. So if you talk about lifting weights and the different things you try out and how you experiment and all these different things, then you've turned something, you've shown that the way you approach this generally not seen as a creative thing in such a creative way, the reader is going to say, wow, that's a really creative person. What a creative approach to lifting weights. Whereas if you say, yeah, I do a lot of art and I paint a lot of paintings, that's creative, they'll be like, yeah, well, everybody who paints that creates what they're painting. It's not as unusual. It seems like you're just hammering it on the nose instead of letting the reader figure it out. When the readers of your essays put this information together, not what you're directly saying, but what you're showing, not what you're telling, what you're showing, they're going to, when they put that together, they're going to trust it. And that's how you can really influence how the reader perceives your character.